Welcome back, everybody. This is 8th grade algebra, Unit 8, Lesson 14, Equivalent Forms of Quadratics. In previous lessons, we've learned a lot about quadratic functions. One, we've learned how to write them in standard form. We then learned how to write them in vertex form. We learned how to write them in factored form, also known as intercept form. We learned how to use one of these forms to find the x-intercepts, one of these forms to find the y-intercepts, and one of these forms to find the vertex. Today we're going to be doing two things. One, we're going to recognize the key features from a graph and use these to write the equation in one of our three forms. We're going to do that for about half of the time. For the other half of the time, we're going to be quickly moving between different forms of quadratic equations using a graph. Here's how we're going to get there. We're going to do a card sort to try to figure out what we can tell from each form of the equation. You're then going to have a brief discussion about it. You're then going to go through a few screens in Desmos that are going to serve as sort of a check for understanding. You'll then work on moving between graphs and different forms of equations, and then at the end you'll have an exit ticket to show what you know. Let's get started. I'm going to first show you what it is that you're going to see in Desmos when you get started with your card sort. This first screen is just a reminder of what the different forms are called. You're then going to spend about 3 or 4 minutes matching up these cards. You're going to make 3 groups of 4 cards each. Your teacher will then lead a brief discussion to make sure that you're clear on what each form can actually tell us about the graph. Here's what you'll need to do for this check for understanding. Your check for understanding is going to be across 3 screens. First, you'll choose an answer here. After you choose an answer here, something will show up on this screen, assuming you got it right. If not, this will tell you to go back and check. Then you're going to enter the information that you can tell very quickly from this function, so that you can verify that it was actually not the function you were trying to get. Finally, you'll do another card sort to show what you've learned so far. This will be a chance for your teacher to intervene and help anybody who's still struggling with the concept, because I know that you can get it. I want to preview the rest of what you're going to be doing today in Desmos, just so that you're clear on what it is that you're trying to do. The next several screens are going to be all practice. This screen explains that when you have one equation written in 3 different forms, you're going to end up with one graph. And it asks you to prove it by changing one of these numbers. So if I change this to a 5, now it's moved. But if I change it back to what it was, which was 4, now the graphs line up again. You're going to read these directions, and then try to write this same equation in vertex form and intercept form. And here's the trick. You don't need to translate this using complete the square or any of the other methods we've learned. You can actually just look at the graph. Vertex form, you're going to find the vertex. You can click on it and it'll tell you. This vertex is at 1, negative 25. And from here, you can write this equation in vertex form. Y equals, if it's at 1, it would be x minus 1 squared. And then it's negative 25, it would be minus 25. And look, it lines up. If I got this wrong, let's say I put x plus 1 squared, which is a common mistake, minus 25, I would see that this would not line up, and therefore it's not the right equation. So you have a way of checking your own work. And then for intercept form, I see that the roots here are at 6 and negative 4. So I'm going to try y equals, it could be 2 times this or 4 times this, but I look and the a here is 1, so I think it's going to be just 1. So I'm going to leave it out. X minus 6 times x plus 4. And it's right. You might have made a mistake, like x plus 6 and x minus 4. But if you made that mistake, you'd be able to see it doesn't line up, and therefore it's not the right graph. You're going to do a lot of examples like that. Then you're going to move on to some problems where you see the graph and need to type it in a given form. So here we can see the graph. We want to type it in factored form. It's fairly easy if we see where the intercepts are. So the x-intercepts are at negative 3 and 2. So here I would write y equals x plus 3 times x minus 2, because those are the factors where if x is negative 3, it's 0, and if x is 2, y is 0, and that's true. You're going to do a bunch of those problems. And then finally, you're going to have an exit ticket that asks you to basically show all that you've learned so far. All right, that's it from me, everybody. Have a great time, learn a lot, and I'll see you here tomorrow. Bye.